Hello and welcome to On the Break. This day we're going to be doing our playoff preview for the NBA playoffs. We've had both all the series have had their first game go down so far, but we're going to, give our thoughts on the games that have happened already and see what we think is going to happen in the future. But first off, I'm here with Nico and Charles. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Yeah.
Good.
Good to hear. Let's get into this basketball. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference really quick. And something interesting happened yesterday. The Magic took a game from the Bucks. I mean, you remember last time, I believe the Magic beat the Raptors in game one, and then the Raptors went to go on to win the NBA Finals. So this isn't, in my opinion, something to jump at, but it's something worth noting that the Bucks won't sweep. And I think this is a product of playing on a neutral site with no fans. I think if they're in Milwaukee, it doesn't matter. It also hurts the other team because they don't have anything to really gain by winning game one except the win, obviously, because the Magic would now have home court advantage if there was a home crowd, if we were playing in their stadiums. But the Magic won a game. They got to win 3 more. I doubt they will, but we'll see. I got Bucks in 5. How you guys feeling about this series so far?
I agree. I had Bucks in 4, so I'm just going to go Bucks in 5. I'm not really moving much with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I would say Bucks in 5. I really think that they just came out flat expecting to win, and Orlando just played their asses off, and I think it really surprised the Bucks.
Yeah, it's just a big surprise at this point. I mean, it happened also with the Lakers. We'll get into them as we go to the Western Conference, but next we have the Pacers and the Heat. This is a nice 4-5. It's one of my favorite series to watch. I didn't get to watch the first game, but the Heat took the first game. I mean, nothing really surprising there. The Heat are one of my underdogs, dark horse contenders, and they did what they had to do. So I'm going to go Heat in 6 here. I think the Heat are just a better team than the Pacers. The Pacers aren't really a team that are fun to watch. They're also fun to play with if you're on the Pacers. You got Domantas Sabonis. Oladipo's recovering from injury. I know that the Heat are the lower seed, but I still think the Heat are going to find a way in the second round. How about you guys?
I got Heat in 7. I think that the Pacers are just a well-coached team. I think they're all around. They match up decently well with them, but I think in the end, Miami they have the best player in the series in Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
So I think that, in the 7th game, I just think that that's just what matters. So I'll take Miami in 7, but I will go with the Heat.
I'm going to go with Miami in 6. I just think that Indiana is just outmatched. I really do. And I think the veteran presence of Jimmy Butler really complements the young players that the Heat have.
Yeah, they're a team I really like a lot. I think that, obviously you have Tyler Herro, you have Duncan Robinson that's really stepped up, you have Bam Adebayo that's a candidate for most improved player. They're a great all-around team. Yeah, exactly. They're 2 great all-around teams, so this is going to be a fun series to watch if you just love good basketball. But if you love something that's flashy, well, you might have to hold your breath on this one. But the Heat, I think they advance. I think most NBA fans think they'll advance. I don't think it's really that close. Yeah. Now, this one's interesting to me because you have the Celtics and the 76ers. The series itself isn't as interesting. But I know a lot of us think that the Celtics are the second best team in the Eastern Conference. I know 2 of us do. Some people will say the Raptors. But the Celtics and the 76ers, the Celtics were able to take game 1 without, the Celtics losing Gordon Hayward, by the way, which if you ask some Celtics fans, that's a good thing because a lot of Celtics fans don't think that he fits well in that system. And I honestly agree. Now, I don't think Gordon Hayward going down is a good thing for the team. They have to learn how to play without him, but it might also make them look a little better. And the Sixers don't have Ben Simmons. I don't think they really have a shot. I'm going to go Celtics in 5. I really just don't see a way that Philly comes and rises to the occasion against the Celtics. Joel Embiid can only do so much. He had a good game, but he's going to have off nights, and those off nights he's going to lose. And even when he has his best night, the Sixers are probably still going to lose. The Celtics are just such a great all-around team with 2 of the best upcoming young players in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, complemented by Kemba Walker, who won his first playoff game of his career. So I'm going to go Celtics in 5 here. What do you guys think?
I got the Celtics in 5 too, but I think it's going to be a competitive 5. The Sixers are a pretty decent, they're a decent they're a decent squad. I think that they're going to make the games competitive. I don't think there's going to be like crazy blowouts. But yeah, I would say Celtics in 5. I mean, the Celtics have 3 to their 1. They have Brown, Tatum, and Kemba, and they have a nice bench, and they have the better coach. They're just a better all around team. Philly will probably steal a game. But besides that, I do think Philly's going to be competitive. But yeah, Celtics in 5. That's a pretty easy pick.
Yeah, I would have to agree with both you guys. I've got Boston in this series, and I do have them in 5 also. I think that the Celtics are way better coached. Brett Brown definitely needs to figure out what his game plan is and what the identity of the team is, because you could see early in the game, ball was going to Embiid. He was converting, he was being very efficient, and then after that, it just kind of died out, and they really didn't look to him as much as they should have. He can't do it all on his own, but he's going to have to show that he is a superstar in order for this series to be competitive, but I don't think they have a chance.
Yeah. And another team that doesn't have a chance, the Brooklyn Nets, they were absolutely demolished by the Toronto Raptors in Game 1. I don't even want to make you guys talk about this one. The Raptors in 4.
I agree. I think that's outside of the Bucks series. I think that was like the other 4-game sweep I had in basically the whole playoffs.
Yeah, bring out the brooms. I mean, Brooklyn does not have enough firepower. They don't have enough offensive scoring. And
Toronto now, after last year, they have a lot of those guys they have championship experience. They're just going to be out, man.
Toronto,
and that's just not enough.
Yeah, and that would leave a Toronto and Boston series in the next round, which would probably be one of the most fun series to watch in the entire Eastern Conference, let alone from the conference finals. Celtics, Raptors. I think it would be safe to say whoever wins that series goes on to the NBA Finals.
I agree.
Okay. I mean, I don't think the Bucks. I just don't think they play as well once you get them deep in the playoffs. They just haven't proved that yet. I think Giannis can. I think the Bucks can.
Middleton's going to be the biggest question mark this year.
That's
last year, after he struggled big time against Toronto in the conference finals last year. I think Middleton is. If he shows up, the Bucks have a very good chance of making the finals.
Yeah.
But I think I have Boston going to play Milwaukee. I think it's going to be Boston 7 against Toronto. I think that both teams are extremely well coached, a lot of depth, a lot of defense, good all-around players. Toronto has Siakam. They have Lowry, Ibaka, Gasol, Fred VanVleet. Just a very, very good all-around team. And I think Boston's the same way. But I would go Boston 7. But the Bucks, the biggest question with the Bucks is if Middleton can play well. If he plays well, they have a chance. If not, Giannis might be looking elsewhere next year.
Yeah.
I would agree. I would say that Boston wins that series. I think the deciding factor is going to be Jason Tatum. I think he has the ability to take over a game. I don't think that Toronto has that type of superstar talent. I know Siakam is greatly improved from last season, but I don't think he has that ability to take over a game, take control, and just be red hot like Tatum could be at times.
Yeah, Tatum can really take over a basketball game, like you said. It's just the consistency. We saw a lot of moments in the season, if you want to call it that he had really terrible shooting nights. I mean, there was one 3 for 16 game he had, and then the next game he'll go and score 40. It's part of being young in this league. It's part of playing with the players that you play with and play against.
And the coach.
The coaching as well. Sometimes, Brad Stevens isn't afraid to say, Tatum, pump the brakes. Jalen's having a great night. And it works for them. But, Kemba, I think Kemba's going to be a huge part to play in this as well.
He's going to be a big X factor. Lowry was last year for Toronto, I think Kemba's going to be like that for Boston.
Kemba doesn't have that grit that Lowry did, which was a big reason. Lowry was getting double-doubles with rebounds in the playoffs last year.
And Lowry's a much better defensive
Exactly. But Kemba could score 50. So I think that compensates for it. But
I agree.
We will see where they go. So with that, I think we can all agree Bucks beat the Heat in the second round.
I would say 6. I think Miami.
6 or 7.
I think Miami, they're a very good team, and the Bucks just, they're not a great playoff team.
Yeah.
And I think Miami's going to push, at least 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, Charles, you'd have Bucks as well, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I would too. I do think that it is going to be a challenge for the Bucks. I
Yeah.
do think that the Heat will be able to implement something similar to what the Raptors did against the Bucks last season with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, sort of creating that wall that Gasol, Ibaka, and Kawhi were able to create last season against Giannis. So I do think that it's going to be challenging, but I do think that they pull through.
Yeah, that's fair. But I do think if we're going to have an upset within the Eastern Conference,
I
this
just
is
say
it.
Miami, Milwaukee. Yeah.
This is it. I mean, Miami has the best chance. I think if Miami can take like game 1 or 2, home court aside, they will put themselves in a great position to come back and win this series. But
Yeah.
the thing about playoff series are so different now. It's not, win the first 2 games at home, the next home team's going to win 2 games. It's we're on a neutral site. You got to beat us 4 times to advance.
It's all neutral at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no home games. Being a number 1 seed is not the same this year.
Yeah, no, it's not. It just means you had the best record.
Yeah.
You don't get home court throughout the playoffs. It's really just who's the better team. And in the East, it looks like the Celtics are the better team. So I think we're all putting the Celtics, we're all kind of coming together and putting the Celtics as our Eastern Conference champion, unless if you have something else to say,
Not
Charles.
me.
You want to protest? You don't.
Not me.
What do you have? What do you got, the Bucks?
I actually do have the Bucks. I do have the Bucks beating the Celtics in a long, drawn-out, hard-fought series. I do think that if they meet, it will go to 7. I do think that Giannis just shows why he is the MVP this season. Yes, I am saying he's the MVP. And I just think that I don't see how the Celtics can stop Giannis. I don't. And I really do have the Bucks coming out of the East. I think Middleton and Giannis, they show up this year after the heartbreak that was last year, winning the first 2 games against Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals and then blowing the series. So I think this is their year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a wrong answer if you say Bucks, Celtics, or Raptors, or even Heat. Those 4 teams all have a great shot at making the NBA Finals. But I think one side of the conference side of the NBA, the West, is wide open, especially after what we saw with the Trailblazers and Lakers.
Dallas and the Clippers.
And Dallas and
as well. Yeah. And I think we saw the Lakers coming in as the huge favorite. A lot of people had the Lakers or Clippers, we all said, But then we see last night, was that last night or was that a little while ago?
Yeah,
it was last night. It was last night. I didn't stay up, but I watched the first half. The Blazers were able to take game 1 against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, like we said before, it doesn't mean they have home court or any advantage. They just won a game. Yeah. But it's still a huge win for the Blazers coming in as the 8th.
Very big.
Getting in on the skin of their teeth. I mean, they had the Suns go 8-0. If Karis LeVert makes a shot, the Blazers are basically not in it. So they are in the playoffs. They won a playoff game against the number 1 seed. We'll see where they go from here. They got to win 3 more games out of the next 6. And I think that they have a chance. I'm not going to write off the Trailblazers completely, but for my official, what do I think is going to happen? I got Lakers in 5. I don't think that, especially with LeBron, that he's going to, have this happen to him and just let the Blazers run all over him. It's Damian Lillard. It's basically one guy. Obviously CJ McCollum is great. We know what he can do.
Carmelo's playing well.
Carmelo Anthony's playing very well.
Carmelo hit a big 3 last night.
Yes, he's hit his shots. I mean, when they need him to hit a shot, he hits a shot.
He has it.
Gary Trent has stepped up as well, having a few good games in the bubble.
Yeah.
And obviously you have the Nurkic and Whiteside combo that is insane. But you have 2, in my opinion, top 5 players in the entire NBA on the Los Angeles Lakers, and Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Yeah.
And I just think that over a 7-game series is too much for the Blazers to overcome. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree. I had the Blazers in 5 to begin with. I'm sorry, I had the Lakers in 5 to begin with. I thought the Blazers were going to take game 3 or 4. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not surprised about last night either. I think that Portland's coming off, they're fresh. The Lakers were, they came into the bubble. They clinched, decently early. I think they were kind of just, lollygagging, and they shot like 5 for 31 from three last night, and that was like I believe it was the worst performance ever from the three ball, and that's including the Houston Game 7 collapse against Golden State a couple years back. But I just don't think the Lakers are going to be shooting that poorly from three for the. You just don't shoot that bad from three. I can't see that happening again. And they still only lost by 7. They have the two best players on the floor. And I got them in 5.
I will say the Lakers have not shot well throughout this entire bubble.
They have not.
So it's something that is still there, and it's something they need to fix. But Charles, what do you think about this series?
I would say I do think that Portland's going to win another game. I've got Lakers in 6 or 7. It has a chance to go to 7, barring some late game heroics from Damian Lillard. But I think that Lillard and McCollum, I think they dominate Los Angeles' guards. Danny Green has been wildly horrific in his last 20 games or so, shooting around 30% from the field, 25% from three, and averaging under 6 points per game. So he needs to figure it out if they want any chance of even attempting to guard McCollum and Lillard. Whiteside and Nurkic are definitely going to be huge factors, seeing whether or not they can defend Anthony Davis. But I do, in the end, I think that the Lakers prevail. I don't think that it's going to be easy. I think that Portland is going to put up a great fight because they have worked so hard to get to this point. They're hot, they're confident, and they're feeling themselves. So,
yeah, I think that's all fair.
Portland's an underrated team, very underrated team. They have a lot of good players.
They have been underrated for, I feel like, a few years now. Yeah, since last year.
They have 4 legitimate players: McCollum, Lillard, Whiteside, Anthony. I'm actually 5, and Nurkic, and Gary Trent's been very good in the bubble.
Did you even say Whiteside?
Yeah, they technically have like 6 legitimate guys.
I mean, and they have
lost in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, they were a couple games away from going to the NBA Finals.
A year ago, they were they were competitive with Golden State. I know they lost in 4, but they were extremely competitive. Yeah. They should have won at least 1 or 2 games.
There was one that came down to the wire that I remember, and they should have won that game 4. I believe
there were a few. I think they blew multiple 15-point leads.
They did. They did.
So Portland is no joke. They deserve to be in this spot. I mean, they're a great team, and I think they're better than they were last year. So to say that they don't have a shot to beat the Lakers, that's wrong to me. Like, I mean, Charles, you said they can go to 6 or 7. It might go to 6 with the Blazers winning the series at this point. But, obviously if I had to make an official prediction, I would go with the Lakers at this point. Right now it's only been game 1, but the Blazers are one of those teams that can really be a dark horse for you. And another dark horse, a lot of people had the Thunder and Rockets as their dark horse in the Western Conference, and they're coming together. But the Rockets, without Russell Westbrook, I will say, took down the Thunder by a pretty decent margin. James Harden looked phenomenal, and the small ball right now is working in Houston. And I really don't know what to make of this series right now. I think the Rockets are going to end up coming out of this one, and they're going to play the Lakers in the second round, which should be a fun series to watch. I know you'll say Anthony Davis is going to obliterate PJ Tucker, but we'll see what happens. Whatever happens, it could be Rockets Blazers, it could be Thunder Blazers, but I'm going to go Rockets in 6. I think James Harden is on another level. I don't know when Russell Westbrook is coming back. I don't think any of us know, but if he comes back, I don't see the Thunder having a chance in this series. The Rockets are one of those hot and cold teams. I'll give it 6. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Oklahoma City, the way Chris Paul is playing this year, he should have gotten some. He's probably going to get some MVP votes.
Yeah,
he's playing really well. I mean, that he's had a really good year, and I think that Oklahoma City, they'll take Houston at 6. I just think that Houston. I don't know, just something about Houston. They just they're not really that type of team where you'd be like, yeah, they're going to blow someone out 4 games. But Oklahoma City will take them to 6, but Houston's going to come out.
Yeah.
I only have Oklahoma City winning 1 game this series.
Okay.
Houston, I do think that they're going to continue to shoot lights out. Pretty much just dominate with the 3 ball. I don't think that Oklahoma City has enough scoring to outscore them, because that's how you beat the Rockets. You just have to outscore them. And I don't think that they have that kind of player on their team.
Yeah, I will say I like the Thunder team with Chris Paul right
I
now.
like them a lot.
Yeah.
I just don't think that this is their time. They got a rough matchup with the Rockets. If they matched up against the Jazz or the Nuggets, I'd probably give them a better chance. But the Thunder matching up with the Rockets just doesn't work out for them, as we can see so far. But they could also surprise us and take the Rockets to 6 or 7 and win the series. We'll see. But now I think that was pretty close. Another one that was close, Nuggets Jazz. You had Donovan Mitchell drop 57 points in game 1, which was absolutely absurd the way he was playing. But Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic did their thing as well, and they were able to counter Donovan Mitchell and win the game. That overtime. The Jazz took them to overtime after a great stop by Rudy Gobert on Nikola Jokic, making a layup really tough for him, and he wasn't able to get it to go. But the Nuggets look good. The Jazz look good. This is going to be a fun series, but that overtime was some of the worst basketball I've watched in my life from the Utah Jazz. I believe they scored.
Yeah,
They scored one time, and I think they just ran out of gas at that point, especially Donovan Mitchell with 57. But part of me wants to pick the Jazz, but after seeing Donovan Mitchell pour his heart out with 57, it's hard to pick them. Because I love that Jazz team. I love what they're doing. But that Nuggets squad with Jokic and Jamal Murray playing the way they're doing, it's just they could have been the 2 or 1 seed in this conference. And it's hard to go against the Nuggets. But I feel like we've picked all the non-upsets, so I'm just going to be the guy that picks the Jazz at this point. Jazz in 7. Why not? What do you guys think?
I got the Nuggets in 5. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a competitive 5. But I think in the end, when it comes down to the wire, I just think Denver's they just got more firepower.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell poured in 50, almost 60 points, and they still Denver's they're just a better team. They're better all around. It's going to be competitive. I think Utah's going to just they're going to play very, very hard. But Denver's just a better team. They're going to beat them in 5. It's going to be something similar to the Celtics and the Sixers.
Right.
I don't think that the Jazz I don't think they have a prayer in this series. I mean, the play styles just look at the center position. Gobert obviously is a monster defender, but with Jokic's ability on the perimeter, his passing game, bringing the ball up to the top of the key, able to bring Gobert out of the paint and just allow for the smaller guards that the Nuggets have to really just slice and cut through that defense. So pull Gobert out of the paint, allow other players on the team to capitalize with Gobert not being there. So, and again, just like you guys both said, Mitchell can't do it all. He's gonna get to a point where it's just not enough. 57 points. I think it was 9 rebounds and 7 assists. He almost had a 60-point triple-double, and they still couldn't win the game. So,
yeah.
Denver just has better depth, really well-rounded team. I got Nuggets in 5. I think the Jazz are lucky if they win a game.
Yeah, that's fair. You also had Mike Conley not playing due to the birth of his child, and they had a guy that was playing in his 22nd game starting for him.
I think he's coming back, though, actually.
Yeah, he should be back. I don't know if he'll be back for game 2, but if he's back, I think they have a better chance. But I know I said Jazz in 7, but if I had to go to Vegas and bet a bunch of money, I'm going with the Nuggets. They're just a much better team. I would have liked to see Jazz, Thunder, Nuggets, Rockets instead of this.
Yeah, I think the Nuggets would have been either team.
Yeah, I think they would have won. I just think it would have been a much better series, in my opinion. But you can't always get what you want. That's how life goes.
Yeah.
Nuggets, Rockets, that would have been very entertaining to watch just because of the size differential on both teams. I think the average height of the Nuggets lineup is about 6'9", 6'10", and Houston's tallest guy, Robert Covington, is 6'7". So
throw the ball, Nikola Jokic line up at the Rockets and see what happens.
With Porter at the 3.
Yeah, why not?
Right.
Why not? That would have been disgusting. But Michael Porter at the 3. Put him at point guard. Let's see what happens. But that would have been something. Now, the next series, the final series in this Western Conference, you have the Clippers and the Mavericks.
I think this is the most fun series.
This is the most fun series to watch.
This is going to be a good one.
I think we have the most fun player to watch in the NBA, in my opinion, is Luka Doncic.
Luka
Doncic has been the most fun to watch. He had 40, 46, 42?
believe it was
I think
42.
it was the most. I know it was the most points in a playoff debut.
Yes, it was.
So he played out of his mind, and the Mavericks were looking to win this game. They were on pace to win this game, and then the ref said, "We're going to eject Kristaps Porzingis for a push that every other player does in this league during some kind of conflict," and it just ruined the entire game. It ruined
They
the
teched him
mood for
twice
the
that game.
Mavs. Yeah, it was a double
Yeah.
tech.
The first
That's
time
what I'm
was a
saying.
clean block. They
Yeah,
teched
The
him for a
first time they
clean block.
teched him. So the reason why he got ejected was because he got 2 techs. But I mean, let's
Right.
be honest here. The first technical was crazy. Whatever.
Yeah.
And then you teched him after Morris whatever. But yeah, it's ridiculous.
But at the end of the day, the Clippers took game one. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't go back and change that. All the Mavericks can do is say, we got to win game two. I mean, I think the Mavericks have to win game two. I will give the Mavericks a chance in this series because they have Luka Doncic. That's it. They have Luka Doncic. I mean, Porzingis is great. I love Porzingis. They have a great roster with Tim Hardaway. He plays really well. Steph Curry. If they had Steph Curry, it'd be ridiculous. But they have Seth Curry. He's been a great shooter. The bench is fine, but if Luka Doncic just makes everyone around him so much better, a lot of these guys that are on this Mavericks roster would be not even good, mediocre. They'd be pretty mediocre. I mean, Seth Curry never did much. Tim Hardaway never did much. I mean, he got a big contract from the Knicks, but that was dumb. But a lot of these guys that we see on this Mavericks roster are so much better playing with Luka Doncic, and you love to see it for them. But is it enough to make them be able to beat the Los Angeles Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? I'll be honest, I don't think so. I'm going to go Clippers in 5. I just don't see them having a chance in this series, the Mavericks. I mean, well, not a chance. They have a chance. I just don't see them being able to overcome the Clippers. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's going to be a good 5 or 6, but I think the Clippers come out on top. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Clippers too. I'm gonna take the Clippers in 6. I think the Mavericks steal a couple games, but at the end of the day, the Mavericks have been just, it's ejection or not, they've been terrible. When it comes down to the fourth quarter, they just haven't been good in close games.
Yeah.
Clippers, they have Kawhi Leonard, they have an experienced coach in Doc Rivers, they have Paul George. They have guys with playoff experience. They have dogs on their team. So yeah, the Clippers are gonna take them in 6. It'll be a fun 6, but yeah, Clippers easy.
Yeah, I would say Clippers in 6 too. You made a great point. I think Kawhi and Paul George, they add that veteran leadership to the team. Been there, done that. They know what they're doing in these playoff series. And I will say, though, the Mavericks are only going to get better from this point. Luka started off the game in his playoff debut. I think he had the jitters. I think he was a little too excited. I think he had 5 turnovers within like the first two or 3 minutes, I think. So
yeah,
I think he's going to improve greatly with his ball handling, ball security. Porzingis is going to be coming back for a full game. When he left that game, I think that they were up by 6. I think it was 87-81. I think when he left the game. So I do think that the Mavs win 2 games. I don't think that they have enough experience, but I would say to bring up Tim Hardaway, I think he's the perfect third option for that team.
Yeah,
He doesn't demand the ball. Luka able always to find the open man, and when Hardaway gets the ball, he's usually very efficient and he converts. So
yeah, I mean Clippers in 6. There's nothing really much there. You got that would lead Nuggets Clippers, which would be a great series. I mean, here's my thing. I still think the Clippers take that series pretty easily in 6, but that would be a fun 6 Clippers Nuggets. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
You have a lot of just so much talent in that matchup, but what do you got? What would you guys pick? We're gonna go through the second round pretty quickly.
I'm gonna take the Clippers. I'm taking the Clippers in this series. I'm taking them in 7. I think that Nuggets. They've been pretty decent in the first couple rounds of the past few years. They took Portland to 7 last year, and I think they're better this year. I think they're gonna take the Clippers to 7, but again, Kawhi is just the best player on the floor.
Yeah,
and the best. The Clippers are gonna win this, and they're gonna win this in 7 games.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes to 7, but I do think that the Clippers win this series. I think that Kawhi and Paul George are just going to take over again, veteran leadership. The Nuggets still have a lot of guys that are pretty young and inexperienced. I know Murray and Jokic were on the team last year that made that playoff push, but I do think that Kawhi's championship experience and Paul George having a long history in the playoffs is going to finally convert and send them deep into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and if anybody thinks that the Rockets are going to beat the Lakers in a 7-game series, we would have Lakers-Clippers as our conference finals.
That's barbecue chicken all day for Anthony Davis. All day.
I think that the Rockets are a very similar team to Portland. They have two good guards that are going to score a lot, but they just have the difference between Houston and the Portland is that Houston has Portland has Whiteside and Nurk. Houston's got no one for LeBron, for Davis. So I take Lakers in 5. And Lakers-Clippers fine.
Lakers-Clippers conference finals, and I mean that's a tough series to do. You could do a whole video on that series. You could talk for an hour about that series. I mean, you got LeBron versus Kawhi, who's been a thorn in his side for so long. Kawhi Leonard and LeBron James beating him in the finals as a Spur, and just being a pain for him. And then you have Paul George, and then you have Anthony Davis, and then you got the other rosters surrounding them. The Clippers are a better team. And you know what? I'm going to go with the Clippers in 7. I think the Clippers take this series,
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be a close and a great series, but I know, Nico, you love LeBron, you love the Lakers, but I'm going to go with the Clippers in 7. I think that Kawhi Leonard is going to come alive. They're going to push the button on whatever robot I don't know. They're just going to push some on switch for him. He's going to become a cold-blooded killer, which LeBron has not been so far this postseason, but it's only been one game in this season. But let's defend your Lakers. Let's just get through that.
I'm going 7-2, but I'm going to go with the Lakers. I think that I do think LeBron. I think he's going to kick up. He's going to kick up eventually, and I think the biggest factor in this series, I do think it's Davis and Paul George. And I think Davis is going to be a little better than Paul George. That's just I don't know, but I just feel that way about Davis. I just think Davis is going to be better than Paul George. Both of them have had, let's be honest here. Both of them have really struggled in I think both of them have really had playoff struggles. And now both of them being the second guy you're going to see. But I think Davis is going to come out on top of that Paul George matchup because I think that's I just think that the Clippers, they're a very good defensive team, but I just think, I just feel like it's LeBron's year. I'm just going to go with the Lakers in 7.
Yeah. I mean,
either way,
leave us a lot of
I think whoever wins that series is winning the finals.
Yeah, I was going to say that actually because I don't think that either the Bucks or the Celtics can beat either of those two West teams.
I would take Lakers in 6 against the Celtics.
Yeah, exactly. Charles, do you think those Eastern Conference teams can make a push against the West?
I don't. I think the only hope that the East has at a championship would be Giannis just wrecking a game for one of the Los Angeles teams. But I mean, I don't see that happening. I do have Clippers in 7. I think that the deciding factor, put the superstars and the big names aside, I think it's going to be the bench players and the role players that the Clippers have. I mean, Harrell is just coming back. I think he played his first game in Game 1 against Dallas. By the time that they get to this series, he's going to have a lot of basketball under his belt. He's going to be back into the swing of things. Lou Will coming off the bench. I think him and Harrell combined for 36 points off the bench. Shamet, Morris on the Clippers. I think that they're just better role players that the Lakers have. I would say that would be the NBA championship, the Western Conference Finals between the two.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah.
I don't think that either the Celtics or the Bucks would beat them, either of those teams in the series. I think the only chance, like I said, would be Giannis game wrecking and taking over, but you would have to look at the matchups. So it'd be Davis would be essentially trying to shut down Giannis, and then there would be Paul George and Kawhi also attempting to slow down Giannis. And I think that both of those Los Angeles teams would be able to do that. So
yeah. It's going to come down to slowing down Giannis if the Bucks are in the finals, and I
think
both
Los Angeles teams can do that because the Lakers have the size in McGee, Howard, and Davis, and the Clippers have Kawhi, Paul George, and Harrell. So
yeah, Harrell's a dog. Giannis isn't going to be able to do it 4 times against those teams.
And I don't think if Giannis can do it, I can't see a guy like on the Celtics doing it either.
Yeah, no, the Celtics are completely outmatched by the Western Conference teams.
I just think that if the Celtics play the Clippers, Tatum's going to have to deal with Kawhi, Paul George, And if he plays the Lakers, I do think LeBron's going to start playing. He's been playing better defensively. I just think that Davis is just going to be a little bit too much for Boston.
Yeah.
So either LA team, whichever LA team makes it, I think that's the champion.
Yeah. I think we all kind of are on the same page here. A few differences in the East and West with who we think is going to come out of those conferences. But that will do it for our playoff preview. Thank you for watching On the Break, and hopefully we're not wrong, but we'll see what happens in this NBA. It's been a crazy year. Thank you guys for coming on, and thank you guys for watching. See you later.